Good evening, everybody. It's Bobby Peyton here, and I am a couple minutes early because I'm going to need to cut back on my verbose habits and get this wrapped up a little earlier because at 9:15 Central Standard Time, I will be joining a call for Arizona with Liz Harris and such, and so I need to get onto that call and kind of go over that as well. I guess, the status of things going on in Arizona. So I will be more than happy to kind of tell you what's going on there in broad strokes. And thank you for your patience. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. So, let me see here. Hope everybody had a good day. Just see who's logged in so far. Hello. How you doing? Rhonda, Donna, Alashiva, Jules. Thank you guys for coming. Farmhouse Fibers. It's an interesting name. And so, okay. So let's get to it. It is 8:30 on the nose, and it's kind of interesting because we're on day 31 of this journey, and some of this sometimes seems as though it overlaps into the previous day and so forth. Hello, Annette, how are you? And so, going on to Exodus 12, day 31, if you're following along with YouVersion, this was... Hold on a second here. Make sure I'm on the right one. Hold on. Yeah, Exodus 12. This has to do with the festival of unleavened bread. So anyways, I was trying to find some stuff with regards to going 7 days without having any yeast in the bread. So unleavened bread doesn't have any yeast in it. And on the 14th day for 7 days, at the basically it says you can't have anything from the evening of the 14th day of the first month until the evening of the 21st day of that month. So 7 days without eating any yeast. So no traditional bread products. And I know that this is a tradition that I guess decides whether or not you get to stay in the nation of Israel, right? If you get to remain Jewish. It's pretty interesting that it's a tradition that's been carried on for thousands of years. And that's Passover. It starts this Saturday night. And so, I can't help but think that maybe, not only does it serve as a reminder, but maybe there's a biological reason for it as well. And as we know now through science, medical science, that is, the second, I think it's the second most important organ after our brain, is our stomach. And we have a tremendous amount of bacteria in our stomach that regulates all of our hormones, all these different processes. It impacts, it basically, since it's regulating our hormones, it impacts our mood, our psychology. And it's kind of like we literally have two heads. We have our brain and we have our stomach. And sometimes we think with our stomach more than our brain, right? When we don't have discipline, it's like the stomach overrides our brain. But in terms of the types of bacteria in our gut biome, impact every aspect of our health and our well-being. So perhaps, and this is just a theory, I have no idea if this is true. So if there's any nutritionists out there listening to this, maybe you can provide some insight. But maybe going 7 days with a complete fast and killing off some of that bacteria helps kind of replenish the gut biome, so to speak. And I think that there might be some truth to that, because I do know that fasting every 2 weeks to once a month. Not that I do that, folks. But I think it's a good idea if you do it. But no, I'm just teasing. I think, probably fasting a full day once every 2 to 4 weeks, if you can do it, if you have if you kind of get into that habit, is probably a good idea. Because then what it does is any excess energy that resides in your body that isn't being processed, you really kind of burn it down to almost like to nothingness, and it does help clear out the gunk, so to speak, that builds up in our bodies. So I can't help but think that Passover is tied to that, and maybe the name Passover. I know it's blood, folks. I'm just making a joke here. But people feel like they're going to pass out because they don't have bread. They don't have what do they call that? Carb brain, or brain fog. That's right, brain fog. Anyways, I'm just teasing. I know why the Passover is there. They put blood on the top of the door and the sides of the door so that God would know whose homes to pass over when he's basically making good on his promise to take the firstborn son, right? And so the Egyptians, they had what was coming to them, as we discussed, as I kind of mentioned yesterday. There was a tremendous amount of importance on the first child of every family. It's been like that across the globe, it seems to be. And part of this whole story to take the firstborn was maybe to break that cycle where other children that were born also had more equal standing before their parents, instead of all the focus and attention being on the firstborn of the family. So I do think there might be some of that going on as well. So anyways, firstborn of livestock as well. And, so let me see here is, so that's when, they basically, the Pharaoh finally said to get out. I think it was on the next part. Okay. So Moses said to his people, "This is a day to remember, the day you left Egypt, the place of your slavery. Today the Lord has brought you out by the power of his mighty hand. And on this day in early spring, the month of Abib, you have been set free. You must celebrate this, and then eat bread without yeast." Okay, so the two kind of go together. I know I kind of am mixing them up. Exodus 12 and Exodus 13, they kind of overlap. And I might have mentioned the blood over the doors before the unleavened bread. But because the Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let us go, so the Lord killed all the firstborn males, both people and animals. That is why now I sacrifice all the firstborn males to the Lord, except that the firstborn sons are always brought back. This ceremony will be like a mark branded on your hand and on your forehead, is a reminder of the power of the Lord's mighty hand that brought us out of Egypt. So, anyways, it's a pretty crazy thing, right? Because, it does seem to be repetitive at times. So I don't think it's me, folks. I'm not trying to be repetitive. I think that some of the way this overlaps in the program is to make sure that maybe, you don't miss anything, but that maybe that's what's going on here. But, okay, so let's go on to Matthew 20. And as Jesus left the town of Jericho, a large crowd followed behind him. 2 blind men were sitting on the road. When they heard Jesus was coming, they said, "Please have mercy on us." "Be quiet," the crowd yelled. "Lord, Son of David, have mercy on us. What would you like me to do?" They wanted him to restore their blindness. Sure enough, he touched them and they could see. And they followed him. And so, let me see. El Grado Clan, did you see what I said to you today on Bobby, the other thing today? No, I don't know what you're talking about. It was so interesting. Fake. What did you say, Jules? I didn't see what you guys are talking about. Is it tied to this or something else? So I'm not sure. Hey Dallas, how are you? But let's as I'm kind of waiting to hear what that was, Jules, I will. John is Teresa and Jewel is fake, and the others. Oh, maybe that's what it is. The earlier post this morning. I'm not sure which part of the post, but I'll just kind of continue on and then I'll read what you write, Maria, afterwards. But this whole saying about having mercy, Jesus stopping to to restore their blindness so that they can see. When I think about, what's the purpose of this, I can't help but think that if you don't ask, you don't get. These people were blind. They kind of knew who Jesus was, the son of David, and they weren't afraid to ask for help. And, I think the part of this story is in Matthew 20 is that if you know the power of Christ and you know that Christ can heal the blind, raise the dead, to life, back to life. He can move mountains with a single thought, all these different things, then why not ask? If you have some things that you really need to solve and you're stuck and you're in a rut and you don't know what you should do or who you can turn to, there's a reason why we're told to pray and ask God for help, ask Christ for forgiveness if we've done something wrong and we can't forgive ourselves. Sometimes praying to Christ, praying to our God, frees us of that emotional or spiritual anchor or chain that's attached to that negative emotion that doesn't allow us to move forward. And I think that in this case, blindness is not just literal; it's also figurative. Jesus restored the blind in this example, which was literal, but it's also figurative. Can you please restore my blindness? The world that we live in has created, made me blind, and I can't see the truth. So Jesus restoring the blindness was not just literal, but it was also figurative. These people wanted to see, and they instantly could see when they heard the word of the Lord. Their blindness was restored, and then they also followed him. So it wasn't they just literally followed him; they also figuratively followed the word, right? So it's literal because they probably followed him as a follower of Christ, but also figurative in that they listened to the teachings of Christ because Christ is the way, the truth, and the light. And so this short little passage here of, I don't know, maybe like 10 sentences, had a lot of material that was covered in such a few number of lines. And so, at the end of the day, belief restored their way to the truth, and it also restored their blindness. Okay. Matthew 21. As Jesus and the disciples approached Jerusalem, they came to the town of Bethphage and the Mount on the Mount of Olives. Jesus sent two of them ahead. Go into the village over there. As soon as you enter it, you will see a donkey tied there with its colt beside it. Untie them and bring them to me. If anyone asks what you are doing, just say the Lord needs them, and he will immediately let you take them. This took place to fulfill the prophecy that said, "Tell the people of Jerusalem, look, your king is coming to you. He is humble, riding on a donkey, riding on a donkey's colt." The two disciples did as Jesus commanded. They brought the donkey and the colt, to him, and threw the garments over the colt, and he sat on it. Most of the crowd spread their garments on the road ahead of him, and others cut branches from the trees and spread them on the road. Jesus was in the center of the procession, and the people all around him were shouting, "Praise God, the Son of David. Blessings on the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Praise God in the highest heaven." The entire city of Jerusalem was in the uproar and said, "Who is this?" And the crowds replied, "It's Jesus, the prophet from Nazareth in Galilee." Jesus entered. Let me see here. If you were blind, you could not. Hold on, let me just read something here that Jacob wrote. Jesus said, "If you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin, but now you can claim you can see, your guilt remains." There you go. So, yeah, it's hard to deny. It's hard to say you didn't know when you know. because obviously God knows if you knew. So it's, that's part of the previous reading with Matthew 20. So Jesus entered the temple and began to drive out all the people buying and selling animals for sacrifice. He knocked over the tables of the money changers and the chairs of those selling doves. He said to them, "The scriptures declare, 'My temple will be called a house of prayer,' but you have turned it into a den of thieves." The blind and the lame came to him in the temple, and he healed them. The leading priests and teachers of religious law saw these wonderful miracles and heard even the children in the temple shouting, "Praise God, the Son of David." But the leaders were indignant. They asked Jesus, "Do you hear what these children are saying?" "Yes," Jesus replied. "Haven't you read the scriptures? For they say, 'You have taught children and infants to give you praise.'" Then he returned to Bethany, where he stayed overnight. And, we've all heard this story being referenced multiple times with regards to Jesus flipping over the money tables and so forth in church. And, I've kind of talked about this early on, maybe the first 7 days of these readings, in that it does feel at times that the religious institutions in our society, not just in the United States, but probably worldwide. I don't think this is just special for the U.S. I think this is happening around the globe, that a lot of the religious institutions have been compromised, and their focus is on the money tables and prospering on church grounds, instead of just keeping them sacred and keeping them holy to the word of Christ. And, one of the things I would say with regards to the lack of, faith, the lack of conviction by religious leaders to step up and act on behalf of the American people and people around the world during this crisis and this, this so-called virus that has spread across the world. They were more focused on, they're keeping their tax deferred status. That's what it feels like to me, that they didn't stand up. They didn't do what was right. They didn't protest. They didn't lead protests. They let our First Amendment rights be kicked to the curb. Our right to religion was violated, and it still is in many parts of the country and the world. Our right to assembly in our own churches was violated, but they let plenty of people not have any problem with that on planes or rioting in the streets. Our ability to petition our government for grievances was violated. Our ability to speak freely is violated. And meanwhile, these money-changing operations, which is what a lot of the churches seem to have become, where you have preachers on TV driving Ferraris, is just, they're just taking the Lord's name in vain. They're using the Lord's name to profit. And I think that we, the people, should go back to smaller groups. We have the books. Make sure you have the books. And whether we do it online like this, or if they try to silence us at some point, I hope everybody has a Bible, and just keep it going with regards to, keep it going to preaching the word, or reading the word and talking to family and friends and sharing the good news and the truth to help us, I guess, live a more righteous life and create a better world for everybody. And I think all of us can do our part. So in the morning, as Jesus was returning to Jerusalem, he was hungry, and he noticed a fig tree beside the road. He went over to see it, if there were any figs, but there were only leaves. Then he said to it, "May you never bear fruit again." Man, you want to talk about being upset. You just don't give me that fig. It's done with you. Anyways, the fig immediately withered up. The disciples were amazed when they saw this, and they asked, "How did the fig tree wither so quickly?" Then Jesus told them, "I tell you the truth, if you have faith and don't doubt, you can do things like this and much more. You can even say to the mountain, 'May you be lifted up and thrown into the sea,' and it will happen. You can pray for anything, and if you have faith, you will receive it." Now, this is an interesting concept, that you can pray and receive whatever you want. Because I think that with regards to prayer, we hear about goal setting as we go through life, the power of goal setting, the power of visualization. And that concept is extremely powerful. We've heard about it. I guess it's probably been something that's been talked about more in our society in the U.S. maybe in the past 50, 100 years than it probably was talked about the past 2,000. I'm just guessing. I don't really know for sure. But let's assume for a second that it is a recent phenomenon. And what I would say is when you read this part of the passage of Matthew, you'd be like, Jesus pretty much said, you can accomplish anything you want. So the goal setting mechanism was already in place in the Bible. Someone just basically took those words and just created some new words, which were much more saleable and I guess more relatable to people that didn't believe in God, I guess, and or people who are more secular. And so when I think about those words, that's what comes to my mind, is that Jesus was basically saying, hey, you believe in the power of visualization and goal setting, you can accomplish anything. And so, obviously that was, maybe there are some among us that can move a mountain into the ocean. I haven't met those individuals, but I guess if they had that power, they probably wouldn't show us they can do it anyways. So anyways, let's go on to Psalms 25. Turn to me and have mercy, for I am alone and in deep distress. My problems go from bad to worse. Oh, save me from them all. Feel my pain and see my trouble. Forgive all my sins. See how many enemies I have and how viciously they hate me. Protect me, rescue my life from them. Do not let me be disgraced, for in you I take refuge. May integrity and honesty protect me, for I put my hope in you. O God, ransom Israel from all of its troubles. So, turn to me and have mercy, for I am alone and in deep distress. When you think about this Psalm of David, and I think there's a lot of people right now, and I kind of hear it. I hear it individually. I hear it in larger settings. I can feel it when people kind of, I guess, maybe send me messages. I'm not sure. That there's a tremendous amount of people that do feel alone. They do feel frightened. They are in a deep state of distress. The world is changing. In a lot of respects, this is true. So I don't want to deny the truth. The world has been changing for the worse for some time. And maybe I do feel at times that this is kind of like the crescendo, that we have the ability and the opportunity and the chance to change it. But we're not going to change it unless we step up. And I do believe the spiritual awakening that we're receiving as a nation, that God is speaking to more of us more directly, and maybe some of us are being drawn to each other. Like even with this, like I can't put my finger on exactly why I wanted to start doing the Bible in 365 days. I mean, from a rational perspective, folks, I'm busy just like everybody else, and I wouldn't have guessed that I would ever publicly commit to doing such a thing. But at the same time, I do feel as though things are so bad that maybe this is the way I kind of sought to keep my sanity and to try to do something to fight back against how crazy the world is, and kind of express my faith and express it with other people. And share what I think about when I read this, and then this would force me to, not force in a bad way, but it would inspire me, I guess, is a better word to use, to go through it all in 1 year, think about it, think about how it impacts my life. And I have to say that it's been an exceptional experience, far better than I would have imagined on a lot of different fronts. It has brought me a tremendous amount of peace. I will say God keeps sending me a lot of work done. And so I can tell you, I keep getting more things I get asked to do. And so I'm not sure when God's going to let up on that. but maybe as they say, God gives you as much as God thinks you can handle. But I keep getting more thrown onto my plate. So anyways, that's why I'm just chuckling, because just tell my wife I keep having these dreams, and each dream results in a little more work. And so So maybe I need to change the tempo of how fast I get things done. So the tempo of dream request will kind of come down a little bit, but just a little. But anyways, my problems go from bad to worse. Oh, save me from them all. I think that there is a little bit of truth with regards to when people are in a rut or things are bad. There's a saying, you can't really get out until you hit rock bottom. And so maybe it's a good thing when the problems kind of blow themselves out and they get really bad, so that then you have a clear state of mind. You finally have surrendered. I think when people hit rock bottom, I think what that really is about, and when I think about that phrase, when somebody hits rock bottom, in my mind, it means they finally let go what created the situation that led to them hitting rock bottom. And so the way you let go is you're like, man, I just can't take the pain anymore, the grief, everything. Just let it all go. They think it's over. And then from there, that's when things kind of sprout in a new direction. And that's when a lot of people tend to find their faith restored, and they get the strength to turn things around. And so when I read this, that's what I think about. Feel my pain and see my trouble, forgive my sins. And so, when you're kind of hitting those low points, I would imagine, you're in a tremendous amount of pain and trouble, and you're praying that all the things that you did wrong that created that situation, that you would be forgiven by God, right? See how many enemies I have and how viciously they hate me. Once again, you do all these things, you let a lot of people down. People out there that there's some people that among us that have cheated other people. There's some people that have done things that, they wish they can take back, but they can't. They said it, or they did something wrong to hurt somebody's sense of self and being. And this basically tells you, you want to start over. You want to start anew. And I think this is probably what ends up happening with some people, who become born again Christians, right? I think there's a group out there. I've heard of, born again Christians. I've met a few of them. I'm not a born again Christian, just so we're clear. I don't feel the need to be born again. I do believe that I'm very happy with my relationship with God my whole life. So I feel fortunate that I haven't had to hit a point where I kind of hit the reset button. And I think that some of us do need to do that. And I think, I just saw that, we as a nation might be hitting, rock bottom. And I do think there's probably is some truth to that as a nation, we are hitting some pretty turbulent times. And but once again, I've said it once, I'll say it again. If we saw justice, so to speak, and we saw that this election went through as we all thought it should, for example, in 2020, I'm not sure if I'd be here right now talking. I don't know if you guys would be out there looking to listen to anybody talk about this. I don't know if our paths would have crossed. I don't know how many people would have been reigniting or reinvigorating their civic involvement, getting involved with being actively citizens again. Who knows? I don't think it would be as high as it is now. That much I do know. I don't think I would be doing as much as I am. I'm hard pressed, folks. I don't, I think if President Trump was reelected, in terms of being certified by Congress, and we saw the outcome that we think was there, I don't know how much different the country would look in terms of how much people were mobilized across the country, demanding restoration to our constitutional rights and doing all these things. So, as they say, God works in mysterious ways. And boy, the past 12, 15 months has been a very mysterious time for the Lord and for all of us in the way the Lord's working in these mysterious ways. What are worthless and wicked people like? They are constant liars. Wow. This is all about Congress right here. They're worthless and wicked people. And a lot of politicians across the state. By the way, the mayor of the town I live in Geneva, Illinois. Feel free to email me at Bobby Piton if you would like to get involved. And the election is going to be in 13 days. This gentleman by the name of Tom Simonian, which I met today for the first time, he's running. I'm going to do everything I can to help him win. I told him I don't want any payment. I'm just going to give him a hand. And I have 10 people volunteered so far that emailed me. And I'm going to try to have him canvass. I think there's about 8,000 homes here, about 22,000 people. I'm going to try to reach out to everybody, encourage them to go out and vote, and explain to them that, look, we deserve someone better than to have a mayor who supports, even though it has nothing to do with him as mayor, but the fact that this gentleman supports somebody who thinks it's okay to slaughter a baby minutes before birth and thinks there's nothing wrong with that. He told me himself at an event. I asked him point blank why he supported a member in Congress that somehow snuck in under our particular district here in Illinois, and he didn't think there was anything wrong with it. And this is the gentleman that I also have talked about with regard. We don't have Dominion machines, by the way. This is just they're doing other stuff here. If you'd like to help, just email me at Bobby Piton, BOBBY PITON at Gmail, and just say help elect Tom, and I'll respond. But basically, these individuals are really sick. They're evil. They don't realize that they're evil, but since they're evil, we got to pray for them. But more importantly, we got to vote them out. Let's get them out and get people in that are good people. Tom, he has 4 businesses. He's very successful. He's not. He doesn't need to pay all the money. You don't even get paid that much, folks. You get $24,000 to be mayor of this town. He's going to donate it to local charities here because you can't give the money back, and he's going to help restore fiscal stability to this community and expose a lot of the corruption. So I told him I'm more than happy to help him. See if I can help get some people to help him get elected, and I think that's on April 6th. So feel free. I'll probably post some stuff on YouTube and help get the word out for him. Okay. So they are constant liars, signaling their deceit with the wink of the eye, a nudge of the foot, and the wiggle of the fingers. Their perverted hearts plot evil, and they constantly stir up trouble. But they will be destroyed suddenly, broken in an instant, beyond all hope of healing. And that would be absolutely wonderful to see all these individuals across this country that have mistreated the American people, sold us out, done things for the wrong reasons, who feel entitled, and they've done a lot of wicked things that we don't even want to discuss because of how wicked they are. If they all lost their positions and fell to the point beyond recognition, I think that would be a really wonderful sign for all of us that God is. We all know God is in charge. This would just be like a nice little reminder. That's the way I kind of look at it. And so, therefore, calamity will come upon him suddenly. In the moment, he will be broken beyond healing, like the fig tree. There you go. That's why I guess maybe these two are tied together, Jacob. Very cool. Yeah, that's a cool parallel. So with that being said, folks, today was pretty short, and it's good that it was short. Maybe I timed it just right for day number 31 to be the short day, because I was asked by Liz Harris to go on at 9:15. And so I'm going to go take a little water break. I'm kind of thirsty, and then I have to log back in. I did tell her that even though I believe I'll be on, Andy Biggs is going to be on as well. So Andy Biggs, congressman from Arizona, will be on. I'll be on a Zoom call. So I got to make sure I comb my hair. No, I'm just kidding. My hair's the way it is. And so I'll probably have to set up a second computer real quick, because I'm going to be on the Zoom call, but I also want to use StreamYard to stream my call. I can't, it's a Republican meeting. So I said, look, I'll talk, on my StreamYard with my Zoom at the same time. But if you guys are, holding your Republican part of the meeting and you don't want it to be public, I'll kind of pause my StreamYard. So keep that in mind. If I pause my StreamYard, it's because they're talking about something they don't want me to be publicly broadcasting. I'm going to ask them if they can cover that either before or after. But I should be going on in about 12 minutes, folks. So with that, thank you for joining me this evening. God bless you. God bless your family and friends. May God continue to bless the greatest nation in the history of the world. May peace be with you. And if for some reason you don't have peace, I do know that if you put God first, peace will most definitely find you. The links, Mason, I'm just going to literally go back live on Bobby Piton. And so if you guys are ever looking, if you go to youtube.com, and then Bobby Piton, and if you click that link, it should take you right there. And I think if you do /live after my name, when I'm doing a live broadcast, I've been told that my stuff isn't going through the way it should be. So, YouTube is definitely censoring me. So I'll probably have to set up an account on Rumble. I have one already, but I have to start recording and stuff there. So thank you, folks. And I will see you shortly if you're going to join me in about 10 minutes. God bless you. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.